Thank you, Acting President. I'd like to make a contribution on this item, and I'm a bit sort of betwixt and between, to be frank. When I heard these buildings were going to be demolished, it wasn't yay, it wasn't nay, it was oh no, not again. I am old enough to remember when Jeff Kennett announced that the then Liberal government would knock down all the towers. And we said, and of course they ended up knocking down, I think, 2. I then, if I hark back to those days, and I've been a resident in Kensington for 30 years now, and I spent 8.5 years on the community reference group for the Kensington Estate redevelopment, including pretty much fortnightly meetings for most of that time on the Design Review Committee. So I know those buildings pretty well, at least the ones that are still standing, and that was a massive redevelopment. It was also the first public-private partnership that this had been done. So it was started under the Liberals with Kennett, and then we had the very good fortune to have the local member, Bronwyn Pike, who was also the Minister for Housing prior to becoming also the Health Minister, as our local member. So she took a very personal view to it, as did Glenis Romanos, who was in this House, who was the chair of that committee. And so we had a very, very good group, very thoughtful, very progressive, and committed to public housing. And I want to come back to that in a minute. We also had an agreement that, given it was the first PPP, there should be a rigorous analysis done of that process. And accordingly, a tender was let, and Swinburne University did a progressive study of that redevelopment over the course of it, and it produced a very comprehensive report with a range of recommendations, including how do you do community engagement? How do you do relocations? What does decanting and rescheduling look like? How do you live in a construction site? And of course, this government has ignored all of it. All of it. It's as though it never happened. Now, it sort of staggers me that we're having this discussion in some levels, and look, I perhaps should have been involved earlier in this in terms of the committee. I did not get involved. I think I'm still a bit PTSD post the Kensington Estate redevelopment, but I'd like to make a couple of points. One, we're talking about 2 different types of buildings. Yep. So there's the red bricks. They are of a particular genre, particular age, and yes, they've had the gong. They're also fairly intermediate construction weight, and they do not lend themselves to easy retrofitting. The majority of these buildings aren't, though. The majority of these came well after the red bricks, and they are the preformed. What? Sorry, I'm enjoying your contribution there, Mr. Batchelor. These are preformed concrete buildings, and they are what we would say today hugely over-engineered buildings. You would never build them today. They are far more robust in their construction, far more robust construction than just about anything you will see on the skyline here in the city. The argument that's been put up about a 50-year life is spurious. It is spurious, okay? If you were doing that, if you were running the targeted building life of a high-rise building, you would have to knock down most of the CBD. I hate to say that, but they're all past the notional thing. Because what that says is you come to that point and then you are either up for demolition or you are up for a major retrofit, a major refurbishment. And so this is a self-serving argument. When we hear this argument about, well, the plumbing's going. Sorry, actually, I'll just let that pass. I don't even know what you're talking about. But if we talk about the things like the plumbing, yes, if you go into these buildings, and I have been through these buildings, floor by bloody floor, apartment by apartment, they have huge rises. They are designed to be retrofitted. And that's what the architects are telling you. They are one of the buildings that is to be demolished is 94 Ormond Street in Kensington, which was specifically gutted, retrofitted and designed for ageing in place. It even had to the point where it had an elevator attached to the external surface of the building, specifically so that it would be disability and ambulance accessible. What we have seen is that this government, and it's not just this government, it's the prior government, spent absolutely nothing on maintenance. Nothing. You have a situation now where you've got one housing officer per 800 units. One housing officer per 800 units. Is it any surprise you cannot maintain these properties? Now, the fact of the matter is that when you talk about things like, ceiling heights, can I suggest to you, with the greatest respect, go down to one of the Assemble buildings and have a look in them, because you certainly have plenty of photo ops out the front of them, and I think you'll find they're all 2.6 or 2.8, which is exactly what's in most of the towers, in the preform towers. I know that's a downer, it's not convenient, but it happens to be a fact, okay? What? In the Assemble buildings? Oh, absolutely. You've actually got ceilings yes, okay, thank you for that.
Order.
Wonderful contribution from the Minister. We're making it up. It's all a conspiracy. Well, the point is, perhaps, Minister, if we're making it up, perhaps if you wanted to make sure that we weren't...
Point of order, Mr Ettershank.
Sorry.
To respect other people in this chamber and has been pulled up on this before. I'd ask that he not point at members while he's making his various contributions.
Further to the point of order.
Further to the point of order, I think Mr Ettershank, he was provoked by Minister Shing.
I will desist from pointing.
Thank you, Mr Ettershank. Continue with your contribution.
I apologise for that, and I apologise, Minister. If this government is saying that the committee's wrong, that we're all wrong in what we're asserting, release the information. One of the first things I did in here was a docs motion asking for a simple cost plan, a building conditions report and a business case. And it's still not been released. 2 years later, you could not bring yourself to put the truth in. And it was doubly embarrassing when you said you would not release a business case here on the basis of executive privilege, cabinet in confidence and commercial in confidence, that then when you went to the court and you were asked by the judge to show that business case, you had to confess that there in fact wasn't a business case. Now, these are buildings that have a long life still in them. I live in a house that's 140 years old. Yeah? It's been retrofitted, it's been maintained. You don't maintain, you don't retrofit, you don't respect these buildings, and you don't respect these residents. I live in this community. I'm a couple hundred metres from the flats. And the reality is those people are terrified. Those people are being pressured. And I know you love to sit in this place and pontificate, but I'm actually living in that area, as I know Mrs Gray-Barbario is as well. The reality is you do not have the budget, to actually rebuild these things. So what we're effectively seeing is an exit via this charade and this conflation of social housing with community housing with public housing. What we are seeing is this government exiting public housing and basically privatising through not-for-profits through community housing. And I'm not against community housing. I love community housing. But you are withdrawing from public housing, and you are so good at this, Minister, in terms of conflating and confusing. But the reality is that if you're not going to put the information out, if you're not going to make it clear to people what we're dealing with, then why wouldn't we draw these conclusions, yeah? Be honest, be transparent. You wouldn't release the documents that we requested previously, and I know it takes 2 years maybe to do some photocopying, but anyway. You wouldn't release information to the committee, and the time has come then, if you cannot be honest, you cannot be straight up, then this needs to go somewhere else, whether it's Fargo, whether it's the Ombudsman, I don't know. But in the case that Ms Gray-Barbario has brought this here, I congratulate her, and we will certainly be supporting this motion.